Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show at Rise Up Show with me, your host, the Queen Bee, Dani. How are you feeling? As we chat this morning to the devilishly handsome, the fabulously wonderful, the incredibly knowledgeable Mr. Fidel Hill, the modern man. Good morning. Jodie Salt, good morning. Fabna Reddy, good morning. Elise Woodbine, good morning. The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon, good morning, sir.
Shut up, for f***'s sake. Jesus.
The fantastic Lizzie Jackson Barrett, good morning. Josephine Sandra, everybody, good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? I missed yesterday. Aren't I dead naughty? I was in. Good morning. Hello. Get on in here for a cuddle. I'm going to finish my eyeshadow. I just realised I've just been putting my makeup on, having a chat to our incredible guest, Rana, this morning. And I looked like a freshly laid turd before I started to put my makeup on. Girls, boys, people, I'm tired. Your girl is tired today. Okay, still going to bring the energy, still shaking bum. It's Friday. Still the girls can do anything kind of vibe. But I'm proper tired. So apologies for missing the show yesterday morning. It was not intentional, and it wasn't I feel dead sad and tired and I need to take the time off. I was in an intensive in Warwickshire with an incredible one-to-one client. Morning, Jules. Morning, Diane. I was in Warwickshire. And we were in the middle of some really intense delivery together, and it was the right thing to do to make sure that that incredible client had my focus. Did I show you what Sarah Stevens got me? Look, Sarah Gormley, you'll know her. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? She got me that as a housewarming present. Absolutely beautiful. You lot send me the most gorgeous stuff. Jana McTavish, I got in yesterday, and she'd sent me, it's downstairs, I can't show you. She sent me a bee house. Like a for solitary bees. So it's like a little like yellow wooden square with like holes drilled in for bees to live in, like little solitary bees. And with it comes some wildflower seed balls that you can plant around your garden. It has like foxgloves and all different like wildflowers to attract bees into your garden. I was really made up. So I'm going to put them out in the midst of my hedges in the front garden. And because we've got quite a big front garden, but can't really do much with it right now. So I'm like, I want a bee garden. I want a meadow in my front garden. That's what I want. So yeah, thank you to Janet McTavish for sending me. That is beautiful thought. You lot send me the nicest stuff. And thank you so much. It proper made me smile as I got in yesterday from that intensive. And I was like, feeling it a little bit. If you think about it, the last 3 weeks, it's been a lot. We've got the run up to Be Inspired itself, which was off the shizzle. And now we are taking a run up to next week, which is the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker Challenge. It's my favorite week in the Hive, where we all festoon, we all link arms together for, I just hurt myself then. In my excitement talking about the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker Challenge, where we veritably festoon like the incredible queen, king, sovereign bees that we are and become visible next week. So the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker Challenge kicks off Tuesday at 10:30 after the show at Rise Up Show. So I'm going to be doing some trainings, setting you guys tasks. There are some phenomenal prizes on the tail end of it. And then on Friday, I've got a massive treat for you. I am going to do a world premiere of the new IATQB promo video. Our videographer, Dave Niven from Spirit Films, sent it me to have a look at like the rough cut and the rough edit to make some tweaks and stuff the other day. You lot, it made me cry. It was like, look what we're creating. It really just captured, like, with Be Inspired, with everything that we've done before, with everything that we do together. It just completely sort of encapsulates the IATQB experience. So I'm going to be sharing that with you next Friday at 8 p.m. in a live premiere as part of our celebration of the challenge. So I'm going to be going on there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Setting your tasks, doing training specifically around speaking and getting visible online in your businesses. And then we've got a big celebration and a bit of a workshop on Friday where I will be hosting the premiere of the new IATQB promo video. You guys, you're gonna shit. It's amazing. He sent it me and I was like, oh! It was amazing. It's a huge testament to the wonderful work that the team at Spirit Films have created. Just honestly, just bloody fantastic. So has anybody been catching up this week on Be Inspired? Let me know. Have you got your catch-up tickets? You can get that all on demand now. You don't have to wait for the next event. You can still access the event and all of the bonuses as well. So if you want to grab a hold of the on-demand Be Inspired experience, you can. Go to I'm the Queen Bee Instagram, like that. Or if any of our speakers or affiliates are watching, bang your affiliate link in here so people can grab it. But yes, that was it. Be Inspired is done. Now it is time for the challenge. And then the doors are going to be opening for Be Inspired and Be Heard once again. Who is jumping on board? There are going to be, and we're going to say it. I said it the other day, so I can say it out loud now. We've got 20 spaces on the Be Inspired event for the Be Inspired Mastermind. 6 have already gone pre-launch. So people have already gone, I want to be a part of this. How do we be a part of this? I'm like, girl. Because so far they've all been girls, even though we're inclusive. And if you are people, then you are welcome. So yeah, 6 places have already gone on the 20 space mastermind. So we're going to split into 2 cohorts. So we've got cohort 1, which will be day 1, cohort 2, day 2. 10 in each, and I'm going to be taking you through the Be Inspired process together. And then for those of you that aren't quite ready for that, we've got Be Heard, which we're opening the doors to at the same time because everyone goes through that process together. So really exciting times. We are heading on into challenge and launch for IATQB. Be Heard. So you want to be a speaker next week. Let me know in the comments if you are getting involved. All you need to do to win any of those prizes is to go to I'm the Queen Bee. podme.co.uk/challenge and make sure that you have registered so that we know you are in it to win it for those prizes. And make sure you tell your friends about it as well. We're going to smash the internet next week, you and I. We are going to become super visible. We are going to be calling to action. We're going to be bringing people into our worlds, which is exactly what I want. I want to help as many of you as possible. Help the people that you want to help. Right. Enough of that. Let me know where in the world you are watching from. Let me know what the weather's doing where you are, whilst I introduce a friend of the show. And some of you may know her, some of you may not. It is really lovely sometimes for me to not have people who I'm super, super closely connected with or know really well, because we get to discover these phenomenal people together. Now, this guest this morning is going to be talking to us and with us about the word on the street, and should be the word on the street and indeed on everybody's lips when it comes to life and business, and that is diversity. So please welcome to the show the phenomenal Rana. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good. How are you? Thank you so much for coming to join us on the show. Why is it Razzle Show?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really pleased and honoured to be here, actually, Dani. So thanks.
Oh, I'm made up. And this particular topic is something that has been a real spotlight focus for us, for the show, for my lineups and the work that I do certainly within the public speaking industry. So tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do, Jay. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so essentially I'm a PR consultant who works in the public sector and the private sector, ultimately raising the profile for organisations and individuals. And that can be handling a good product or a good service, or handling a really bad crisis.
Right.
And that also means encouraging CEOs or those at the top to speak with the press in a clear and concise way, and making sure that the messages are heard, but making sure ultimately that the reputation still remains intact.
Right. And this is a funny old one, isn't it, when it comes to crises within businesses? Because sometimes, whether we like it or not, things happen, and sometimes they're extenuating circumstances and they're outside, and sometimes we just put our feet in it. Sometimes we just can't help ourselves, and that happens sometimes. And orchestrating a good solution and an outcome for that is really, really important, isn't it, for everybody involved?
Yeah, that's actually really true. And that's one of the reasons that's led me into the work that I'm doing now around diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
So as you've said quite rightly, it should be on everybody's agenda. It shouldn't matter. We should all be included. I'm seeing more and more that there is more of a divide and more of a need to include. And it would seem like common sense to you and I, but it seems in certain sectors of the world of work, it still isn't being addressed. So,
yeah, and it's shocking, really.
Yes, yeah, it is, and unnecessary.
And the thing is, I can say here, as you know, a straight white woman, that it's shocking. And actually, if there's anybody outside of that demographic, sadly, it isn't shocking. It's not. This is a shock. This is something that's been going on for a long, long time. This, in fact, it's part of my privilege to be shocked about this, as opposed to, oh, this is happening, this is wrong, this should have been happening a long time ago, right?
Yeah, so for a person like me who is of Indian heritage, it would seem very normal, and we have a narrative from a very young age of what you can and cannot expect in the workplace, and what privilege you should and should not expect. And in short, there is very little that you are entitled to. I'm pretty sure that people are aware because it's reported heavily in the media, but there are other nuances that go unknown and that aren't listed. So through the things that I do, I try and advocate inclusion, but that, you know, you have to be open to that. And it seems that although some people are, many still have a long way to go.
And this is I think it sits within a blinkeredness, doesn't it, Jay? It's that it's not affecting me. I'm not an unkind person. I'm only got a small business, so I can't recruit, you know, I can only recruit the best person. And there's this sort of relinquishment, I guess, of responsibility around inclusion. What are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, I totally agree. If you're a small business, you know, I too am a small business. I haven't got the time or the resources or funds to invest in somebody and see, you know, to upskill them and give them the soft skills and the hard skills. But I think if you do take the time to invest in these individuals, it will pay you off in dividends. Most commonly, especially, I can only speak from a female perspective because that's what I know best. As a Indian female, I come from a household where, you know, you are in a serving role. So you're always in a nurturing, caring role. So I did enter the world of work in a caring role, in an admin role, in an office junior role. But there was so much more that I desired. And I suppose my hunger for education and my hunger to learn more and grow has got me to where I am. But there is no denying that I have had some really fantastic people enter my life and support me along the way. They weren't there for a long time, but I know from the experiences and the workshops that I run that not everybody is receiving that support. And it's a shame, really.
So what, as part of your advocacy work around diversity and inclusion, what sort of work does that involve? How do we raise the profile of this? I mean, obviously having conversations like this and making more people aware that it's an absolute necessity, particularly in the straight white environment, to take the blinkers off and actually look at other people's lived experiences. What does your work involve?
So I work in partnership with a great lady called Rosie, who runs an enterprise called Mirai Magic. And through that, we are working with the young. I know education and growth does not have an age limit, but at the moment we are focusing on young people and focusing in the HE sector, the higher education sector, where we are helping those from ethnic minorities ready to enter into the world of work with soft skills, preparing them with the interview questions, because we've faced anecdotal evidence where we've heard stories where students who have got very good grades have not been successful in university applications or interviews because they didn't have the communication skills to articulate what they wanted to say. So most of these individuals will come from a household where, like my parents, English was a second language. So to communicate what they wanted to is done in a colloquial way, or is done with an accent, or is not expressed clearly. So we run workshops where individual young graduates ready to go into the world of work can learn about writing the CV, learn interview skills. Also, most importantly for me is what they can get out of it. So as you know, and I'm sure your followers will agree, we've all been in jobs where we thought this is great, and then 2 weeks in we thought this is toxic, I need to get out.
This is not good. Yeah, I hear that.
What do you do then? You know, you've
Yeah.
got an income coming in, you've got bills to pay, and everybody's around you is like, wow, you've got a job, and it's, you know, it's with this high flying company. It's also about making sure that they apply for the right role for them.
Yeah.
So it's okay to say to anybody, yeah, just go and get a job. But, you know, for most of us, a job and our work is also part of our identity.
Right.
It's about making that contribution. You can only make a valuable contribution when you feel valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're focusing on, making sure that the individual recognizes what assets they have, but what assets they can share. So hopefully the story and the journey continues. It doesn't just stop. And the generational gaps and the cycles that, you know, we all hear about and we've read about, they're broken, and we progress. Ultimately, we progress and we contribute. So the ultimate aim is to work from the young upwards, but you know, who knows?
I mean, it's because the dinosaurs need meteorites to kill them, and I think it's difficult when we're all, you know what I mean? If we're as with any movement, we all kind of start off in silos, and then we meet, and then, oh, you're a like mind, all right, cool. And it's like, you know, you get a drop of water, and it comes across another drop of water, and it absorbs, and it becomes a bigger drop of water. It feels like that's happening now. There's lots of drops of water that actually you can see them, just like this conversation today. You can see them coming together to create bigger drops of water. The difficulty with the dinosaurs, as I like to call them, the bigger companies, or the, you know, the people that have been established for years, where that kind of privilege and that kind of blinkeredness is inherent, whether they like it or not, it's inherent. They are the tougher nut to crack. Actually, the new CEOs of tomorrow are the ones that we can create the biggest impact in. It's almost like creating a new legacy, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've got it in one, Dani. I really do think it does start from us. We create the change that we want to see, as everybody always says. But I do think that, you know, we're working in a new world. So I don't want to disclose how old I am, but I come from a place where, you know, you have to be grateful. You've got a job. Don't challenge your boss. I mean, very quickly, I'll share a very quick story. I worked in a company 2 weeks in, they had an international crisis. I solved it. Everybody around the members, the board members, got a 20% uplift for handling the crisis. I was told, as the only ethnic person in that organization, I had to try harder. So, you know, so I thought, right, okay, so I have to try harder. I've done this global crisis for this very small company. So I stuck around for 2 years, and that was because I had been given the narrative from my parents. You have to be grateful, you know, they're giving you a job, and we came from a country and they took us in, we have to be grateful. And that story is great, but that story has no affiliation with someone like me, and it does not for future generations. They affiliate and only associate with this country. And that is why it is even more so important for small businesses to invest in these people, because although we may travel to India, Africa, Thailand, we still recognize this as our home. We still would say, yeah, fish and chips on a Friday is the best meal. It is for me. Might not be for others, but it is for me. So I think if we can invest and just start to partner up, and instead of just assuming, oh, that person who is of ethnic origin may not be interested, take the time and include them. I have been in many, many high profile meetings, Dani. I've worked for some very big organizations and some global organizations, and I have sat around a table and I have probably only a handful of times been asked my opinion. Sometimes that is because I'm a woman, sometimes because it could be down to my ethnicity. I think more so it's the latter, but I don't want to make out that, you know, people aren't inclusive. There's so many people that are inclusive.
For sure, 100%. But the conversation still needs to take place, because the balance still is not right. You know, it's still not right. So interestingly, I was doing an intensive with a phenomenal builder of CEOs over the past couple of days, and she goes out and creates like new CEOs, and goes from the people that go from being owner-led businesses into CEOs. And one of the things that we did as part of our research was to look at women, right? Women in the FTSE 100. So just women, that before we even start breaking down into segmentations and demographics and ethnicities, etc. In the FTSE 100, only 5% are women. And in the FTSE 250, only 2% are women. So that's even before you start breaking down into demographics, before you start even segmenting. That's just gender alone, which is a frightening prospect, because if you think about business growth, and one of the important things about business growth is having as many voices at the table as possible, because the UK now is a melting pot. Yeah. It is, it is a melt, and beautifully so. If you go to London, just walk outside in London, like it is a melting pot of incredible cultures. It is rich. And I think it's understanding that actually your board becomes richer when you have more than one type of voice with one lived experience. Instead of thinking, I've got to tick a box here, I've got to have a token Asian person, I've got to have a token Black person, a token woman. That actually understanding that these voices are really important in order to steer your business into the future, right?
And I do think for innovation, if you keep doing what you keep doing, you will always get what you keep getting. So I do think, this pandemic has shown more than anything that we are a global community. We are not just, one demographic or one gender or one social class. We are one demographic and one global nation. And I think more so now than ever, if you want the investment, if you want the growth, look around you and see what you can get, which is probably quite local and near you, and spend a couple of minutes including that person who is from a different background, because most of the time, most of us come from a household where we are constantly compared to our peers or told we're not good enough. So we always try and strive for the extra mile. Right. So we do give and we are loyal, and it will be worthwhile ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I remember working within Welfare to Work, and within Welfare to Work, part of the difficulties and barriers to entry to work were they referred to as ESOL clients, English as second language clients. The misconception, and it is wrong, categorically wrong, is that just because English is a second language, that they are not intelligent people, that they are. And I'm like, how can that even be a thought these days, that just because somebody doesn't speak English or it's their second language, so they're not maybe as confident. So they might have English. We have a huge Chinese community here in Preston. And they come over, and the university is just phenomenally UCLan here, and has a big business section. A lot of our Chinese students come over, have a lot of English, but are frightened to use it. So there are no creating safe spaces for people to explore that a little bit more, or allowing for interpretations and stuff like that is definitely something that is, we can win that way, right?
We can, absolutely. I mean, just talking about that, up until a couple of years ago, even though I work in the field of PR and I train people to go and cat in front of camera, Dani, as an individual, I didn't speak in team meetings. I was a journalist and I was told repeatedly every day, I can't understand your English. Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk. Oh, you're all funny lot. Can't understand. So it does hamper your confidence. It does make you think you're not good enough. But it is about being patient and, uplifting and supporting the individual, and just being patient, I think, is enough. I think that's the crux of it.
Yeah, for sure. So how do we as a community become, it's a big question, so how do we become more inclusive? I think one of the interesting things was, last year I did an event called the Big Festoon, and I with diversity right at the forefront of and I tried to be really broadly diverse. So if I look at the lineup, there we had members of the Jewish community, members of the LGBTQ plus community, women, men, members of the Black community, members of the Asian community, members of the Oriental community, all of these, as best I could. In the week, that George Floyd was murdered. And the difficulty was that the spotlight was then on me to make sure that I maintain that it was a diverse lineup. But at the time when a lot of people were feeling a lot of pain, rightly so, and it's a righteous upset and a righteous anger, that spotlight was on me a little bit, and that caused a bit of fallout that, there wasn't enough representation, or I could have tried harder. And one of the things that I had to hand on heart say was that I didn't do enough shouting out and enough digging around. How do we become more inclusive in our lineups? How do we become more inclusive in our workplaces if, as it stands, our networks are relatively not inclusive?
I think it's about change. Then make a conscious decision to change. Yeah. We can all sit here and say, well, I'm not access to that. That doesn't affect me. Get educated. There's plenty out there. There is no excuse. I know very little about how to work with CEOs and how to use their language and their tactics. I learned, and it's very simple. Include us. When you recruit us, as I've witnessed on 2 occasions, don't turn around as the person walks out and say, can't have that person. She's wearing a headscarf.
What?
Temper your comments. Think about what you're saying and be honest with yourself. If an individual does not meet your criteria and it's simply down because you think the dynamics won't work, then be honest with yourself if you can't be honest with anybody else. Because let's be really frank, Dani, if we take away the exterior, internally, we're all made up of the same things. We all seem to have the same organs and we all seem to need blood and oxygen to run. Right. So we're not very dissimilar.
No.
But what we do offer one another can enrich us. Yeah. And I do think going forward, it is simply about that. It's about growth, nothing else, surely.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. And I think that from the learn from that particular experience for me was, even though if I look, that lineup was as diverse as I could, in my mind, could possibly make it, and there's still more to be done. The answer that I found was to make my platforms safe platforms, because you will have communities then that feel, because of just the lived experiences that you've shared this morning, and it's on a sliding scale for everybody that is other, that is being marginalized, has this experience. It's I think making yourself a safe space for people to come to, and then actively going out and seeking it, instead of sitting here saying, well, I put a job role out there, I advertised for the job, nobody came to me, and now I don't have a diverse or an inclusive board or
really funny staff. How that happens.
I put it out there, and if you are not specific about creating safe spaces and saying that we welcome people absolutely. From different backgrounds in, then how do you make yourself a safe employer? So you've got to take responsibility, right?
Yes, we all have, not just me sitting here talking about it. I too have to play my part. I too have to be a role model and walk the walk, as they say. So and I at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said, using the water metaphor. We all come together and we all grow and we all help. And it isn't that different. And ultimately, that's all we're here about. We're about uplifting one another. We're not about pushing one another aside, because I've been in that position and didn't really, the other person didn't gain much, and I certainly didn't feel great. So, trying this way, it has positive outcomes. And ultimately, isn't that what we're all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us. I'm here for a bit of gossip as well. Talk to us about crisis management within PR. What sort of things happen?
So just the reference that I made earlier was, so I worked with a very small company, and they had a child abduction case. So they looked after very high prolific offenders, and they did everything from housing to care to getting them back into the world of work. So I'm 2 weeks into this job, and somebody comes up to me and says, well, can you get over to so-and-so site? And when I was like, yeah, that's fine, and turn up, and I thought, well, that's strange, a child being taken out in a towel. And then the police officer said, he's been handcuffed to the radiator for 3 days. And I was like, oh. So I then do the best I can to ascertain what's going on, get the facts, and then come back to the site, come back to our head office, fill in the CEO. He sits there, looks me in the eye and says, I'm going to pop out for lunch. I said, oh, okay. I didn't see him 6 months after that. He had a bad back. So I handled Sky News, Channel 4, did the radio interviews, went up with the council and had to explain what was going on, why there had been so many failings, and there were. And then after that had subsided, I was told by the chair, can I do media training? And I thought, well, I've just done it. So I assumed it was for me. And she was like, no, can you give it to all of us? So, because we can go out.
Yeah.
I delivered media training for them on how to share the information and be effective on TV. And as a result, nobody wanted to do it, which was great because it came back to me. So I suppose it was a very valuable lesson and one that I won't forget because it had got coverage from all over. And in the midst of this was a site in a very urban part of the West Midlands, and the community were absolutely rife.
Right.
We had it was in a high prevalent working class area. The demographics were split between white and Asian, and the offender was male. So you can imagine the tension between the two communities as well. So that was my first one of my first crisis handling experiences.
Cool. And that's not even like dipping your toe in. That's like you going,
no.
Yeah,
I think I was very well versed after that. But yeah, I suppose anything after that, just a bit,
Yeah, you sailing anything after that for sure. So how the last 12 months have been insane. How has that affected you, the PR work that you do? How has that directly impacted your business, I guess, Jay? I'm interested to know how this has affected everybody. There's always a question that we kind of stumble upon. How has it affected you and your work? What have you seen differently?
It's been, I would say I've had a mixed bag. So I've had, I've faced positive support. We need PR. We could really do with it. And I've faced the opposite completely. So last year was not a great year. Had I not had the support of a really good friend, I don't know whether, I would still be smiling, but I had a terrible experience where somebody had cut the PR contract, but also was quite brutal in the way she'd handled it. And then this time round, it's very much needed. I think the pandemic made a lot of people panic. A lot of anxiety has come out of it.
Panic and stressed people do not behave as maybe they ordinarily would, I guess. Panicked and stressed people behave like panicked and stressed people, don't they?
Yeah. And I suppose now we have a very healthy appetite for PR amongst a lot of businesses and companies who are seeing the need for it. But most importantly, more than ever, they are seeing, perhaps sadly because of George Floyd, the need for inclusion on every spectrum, not just on the ethnicity side. On every spectrum, they want people included and along with them on the journey.
Yeah, I mean, even conversations around captioning. Instagram, for example, on its latest app update now has, because it was a separate app. Threads was a separate app. So for stories, when you're talking, you can choose to auto generate captions now to create more inclusivity around that. There is a wider conversation. If I look at neurodiversity again as an example. Understanding the sliding scale of neurodiversity within the workplace as well now is really fascinating. In fact, I was doing some research because turns out spending a lot of time with your husband over lockdown, you find things out about each other apparently. But one of the things that we realized as a household, there is more neurodiversity within this household than we originally realized. And as a result, we were doing a lot of research into it and seeing what was happening. And actually within a lot of tech companies, when you have people that have special interests and often around tech, you may find that they are neurodiverse. Now, if we are in offices that have lots of fluorescent lighting that are really, really noisy, actually what you're doing is you're taking maybe a higher a high percentage of people who may be neurodiverse and putting them into a sensory nightmare. So thinking about inclusivity like that as well is it's something that we have to start doing, because the more awake we get to everybody, the more we realize the value that everybody has got to bring to the table. We've got to create the great environments for that. I just
absolutely
love that.
And on the flip side of that, Dani, we also have to accept that sometimes we don't gel with everybody. So we want to be inclusive, but we have to accept that we don't gel with everybody, and everybody doesn't gel with us, and that's okay too. But I think when you're making conscious bias, I think that's when things do need to change. I'm pretty sure you have such a huge following. I'm pretty sure people out there can have a story where they have not been included, and they know what that feels like.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's just opening the doors, I guess, in summary for this conversation, opening the doors, allowing for the conversations, being patient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds like the world would be a nicer place all around, for fear of sounding glib. We'd be smiling a little bit more if that were the case, we'd be more inclined to hang out with each other a little more.
Yeah, and it wouldn't just be all about work, and I think we would have a good work-life balance if we had that.
I agree. So Jay, tell us what's coming up for you. What are you excited about?
So I am excited because we as I mentioned, I'm launching with a fantastic team at Mirror My Magic this new HE project for young people who are graduates. So we are about to launch that in the next month or two. Workshops for young people where they can learn all these soft skills, CVs, how to enter the workplace, and as young people say, how to hold their swag together. So
I love it. We need to hold our swag together. That's right. So how do we learn more about this, Jay? How do we get involved? How do we recommend people? Is this, at what point of the project are you? Are we in delivery? Like, how do we get involved?
So we are just at launching stage. So we have a few things that have not been done yet. So i.e. our website, it's still it's still being processed. So if they are willing to just get in touch with me directly via my email address, people can do that, and we can take inquiries from there. But we are definitely keen on rolling this out to not just the higher education sector, but places of work as well, as part of their training and their organizational development. So
Brilliant, amazing. And how do we contact you, or how do we hang out with you a bit more?
Yes, so I am on Instagram, so it's Rana 1981, which gives away everything. But so you can find me on Instagram, or you can email me. And I can share the email details later if anybody's interested. But it would be great if anybody wants to get in touch or even learn more than willing to share what knowledge I have.
Amazing. Jay, Rana, thank you so much for joining us on the show at Wise Up Show. It's been beautiful talking to you. Really important conversation. Huge love, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Most definitely. Bye for now, Dani.
Fantastic. The wonderful Jay Rana there. Thank you so much for joining us for such an important conversation. The inclusivity and diversity conversation is something that we need to continue to bang the drum of. It's something that I am committed to as part of having guests on the show at Rise Up Show, and actively are seeking out members of the LGBTQ community, members of the disabled community, and also members of any marginalised community. You are most welcome to please drop me a message, and you are most welcome to come onto the show for us to share the platform and the microphone with you. All right, my darlings, I hope you have a phenomenal day. You need to get yourselves signed up to the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker Challenge. It starts on Tuesday after the bank holiday at 10:30 after the show. Do not miss it. We are going to get visible AF, and I'm going to hold your hand every step of the way. Wicked prizes at the end of it as well. There's a sparring strategy day with yours truly. There is some swag bags. There is IATQB swag. There's also, I think, some pretty sexy posh hampers in the offing as well. So do come and get amongst it if you go to imthequeenbee.co.uk/challenge. Get yourself signed up, and I will see you bright and breezy on Monday, on Bank Holiday Monday at 10:30 for more show. No, I won't. 9:30 for more showing up, wising up, and rising up. Don't forget as well, next Friday, 8 p.m, I am going to hold the world premiere of the IATQB new promotional video. Please do tune in for that. We're going to have a big old celebration. I'm going to give some shizzle away. That's 8 p.m. next Friday, 8 p.m. next Friday for the world premiere and also the celebration live as well off the back of the challenge. Have an incredible day. Have an incredible weekend. Have an incredible bank holiday. I love you. I will see you on Monday for more Showing Up, Wising Up and Rising Up. Take care.